when we think about Ibrahim alayhi salam being made homeless because he was kicked out of his house, when we think of him as someone who's wandering the desert and going from town to town, not having any assets to his name, when we think of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam being expelled from Mecca, deported essentially, when we think of him living out of a cave for a good year, when we think of the bankruptcy of the companions, where even the Messenger himself sallallahu alaihi wasallam tying stones to his belly, anybody else starving, anybody else, you walk down the street and somebody doesn't have a home, the picture in your mind is not success. Anybody else who's been kicked out of their home, you don't think of success. As a matter of fact, even about a previous prophet, people said, Kunta fina marjuwan. We used to have so much hopes in you. You had a bright future. What have you done with your future? You become such a failure. They said to a prophet. You see? Because their definition of success still holds, and according to their definition, this is a huge failure. You'll find people in your own family, among your circle of friends. Maybe you're not that religious. Maybe you don't pray 5 times, or you don't know much about Islam, or you don't dress so Islamically, or whatever it may be. And you start maybe even learning a little bit about Islam, or just showing a little bit of curiosity about Islam. And people around you start thinking you're failing in life. You're not cool anymore. You've lost out on something. You've become weird. You're not as acceptable as you once were. There's some sort of a loss associated with coming close to Islam, even if a little bit. And the more they see you as serious about the religion, the more of a loser you are. The more of a loser you are. And that's the story of human history. The Prophet would tell us himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Bada al-Islamu ghariban, fasayaudu ghariban, fatuba lil-ghuraba." Islam began as something weird, something strange. People say, "What do you mean? This is success? What we've been doing is all failure, and what you've come with is success? Come on, this is what you mean? This is how you want us to live our life?" And Allah says the Prophet says, one day it will come back as something strange. In other words, when Islam first came, people of Makkah thought it was strange. It was weird. What are you talking about? But once Islam became a global power, it was the popular thing. It was the cool thing to be Muslim, actually, at one point, when the Muslims were in power. But now we find ourselves at a time where even within a Muslim family, somebody going back towards Islam is becoming what again? The strange one, the weird one. It's associated with some kind of loss. In many countries in the Muslim world, people are afraid that their young sons and daughters might become religious, because if they do, that means they won't get good jobs, they won't have good careers, they won't get a good education, they'll become fanatics, they'll become crazy. All these fears are there that they will lose out on life if they get close to Islam. And though at some level I sympathize with that fear, because there's a lot of fanaticism out there. There is. But to take all of Islam and say, if you become anywhere close to this deen, if I see you praying 5 times, or if I start noticing that you're not wearing the tight clothes that you once wore, and that's not a good thing. You're becoming too extreme, you're too hard on yourself, and you start seeing that you're missing out on life, or you're in a state of loss, then your definition of loss and failure is not based on Surah Al-Asr yet. That worldview hasn't been established. You see, Islam today has become a label. We carry the name, we carry Muslim names, we celebrate Eid, we show up for Jummah, we do certain rituals, like the Christians do their rituals. And the Jews do their rituals. They have their Sabbath, they have their Sunday, we have our Friday. We eat the halal food and we're good. Basically, Islam's become just a few things that we do, but practically, the way we see life, the way we view the world, has not changed at all, is not different from anybody else. They have certain definitions of success and failure, and ours are identical. We consider the very same thing, success and failure, as our non-Muslim colleagues, as our Christian, Jewish, atheist, Hindu, Buddhist, agnostic friends. They have that same view, we have that same view. We haven't actually seen the world any differently. Islam has been reduced to certain rituals, not a way of seeing the world. The Quran first came to change the way we see the world. Everything else is secondary. The primary is the way you see the world changes. That's the point of Surah Al-Asr. Its function is to make you see the world from the Quran's lens.